The guard commander rushed into the throne room and bowed before Queen Eldath Whitehammer. "My queen, scouts report sightings of beast herds gathering on the northern slopes. The hunting horns have been heard in the distance. It is possible that they are summoning enough of the tribes to strike at us." The queen nodded and looked to her advisers. "If the herds are gathering, this could prove to be a credible threat to the safety of the realm. We must strike quickly and decisively. If we bloody their noses, the tribes may very well break apart before they become numerous enough to pose a threat." "But, my queen, the majority of our forces are preparing for the onslaught of the elves." "Yes, but we do have other options," the queen said. "Make the knowledge of the tribes gathering known to all. Such news will bring forth the seekers, who will prove a stalwart enough force to rally behind. Then summon Vedash Coppergear. His weapons of war shall bring quick death to our foes." The surrounding advisers looked at the queen in disbelief. Vedash Coppergear was a well-known engineer, one crazy enough to prefer the newfangled flying machines to trusty dwarvish siege engines, though he was deadly with either. But the advisers acquiesced to the queen's command. After all, it was better to have the mad inventor outside fighting the enemy than inside blowing up his workshop. Alright, so we've got another battle report for you guys. The Dwarven Hordes versus the Beast Herds. This is going to be a 3,000 point narrative battle, standard deployment, and no secondary objectives. So pretty simple. I've actually been looking forward to this game for a couple of weeks. Skip had some trouble getting to us last week, so I missed out on that one. So I'm really chomping at the bit to get this one underway. So let's go ahead and get to it with deployment. Okay, starting here on the Beast Herd's left, we have a unit of the Centaurs. They are starting drunk and have a lance. I don't know if that's an upgrade for them, but it's what they've got. Next to that is a big old Wildhorn herd, 30 guys in it, with paired weapons, throwing weapons, and full command. Over here we have a unit of Minotaurs, 3 of them with with paired weapons, but no, even though there is a banner there, he doesn't actually have a banner or anything, so no upgrades. Next to that is the Gortak, and then he has a mess of stuff for ambush. In the back there is a 20-man Longhorn herd with full command and the banner of discipline. Hanging out with them is his Beast Chieftain, BSB. He's a greater totem bearer with the Gnarled Hide Totem, Blooded Horn Totem, Clouded Eye Totem, and Black Wing Totem. He also has Mithril Mail and Talisman of Shielding. Also in that first Wildhorn herd, he has his Soothsayer, which is a level 4 to the lore of Evocation. He has the Leeching Blade and the Charm of a Cursed Icon there. Also ambushing, he has a unit of 5 Feral Hounds, and he has a skirmishing unit of Mongol Raiders in front of that, in that very pretty looking skirmishing base he has there. Okay, so to go up against that, I have a bomber, the steam bomber. On the other side of that impassable terrain there, I have a unit of 20 Seekers with full command and vanguard. Then I have a rune-crafted flame cannon. Next to that is a unit of 10 Forge Wardens with full command. Behind them is my general, Vedash Coppergear. He is an engineer. He has the Forge Repeater, a runic armor with a rune of crushing on it, and a runic talisman with the Aether Lodestone. Behind that is a catapult. Then the big unit next to that is a unit of 20 Greybeards with full command and the runic standard of swiftness to give them vanguard. And hanging out with them is my Thane BSB. He's in the front left corner of that unit. He has a runic weapon with one rune of fury and the rune of smashing, and is bearing the Aether icon, so he dispels as per a master wizard. And then holding down the other flank is a single steam copter. So I'm trying this no magic thing again to see if it works, because my dice just don't like the magic phase, and I haven't had a whole lot of success with it. So we'll see where it goes. This is also the lightest I've gone characters, so I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough killing power. I'm hoping to do enough thinning down with my shooting to deal with it. Oh, and the Greybeards there also have thrown weapons, so that should help a little bit. Alright, so this is Vanguard. I wanted to go ahead and leave sort of a central killing field open for the shooting, so I just moved up the 2 Vanguard units. I don't even think I moved them up the full 12, just to get them in position, and because I'm figuring he's going to come straight for me, I want to be able to react to him. So I drop my whole army first, so I get first turn. At this point, I'm worried about the ambushers, so I pull the choppers into the sides, hopefully to prevent him from getting into my general and my siege equipment. And they're fast enough to kind of respond to whatever he puts down there next turn, so I'm okay with that. Really don't have much going, because I took the upgrade on the flame cannon. I have an extra 6 inches of range, which puts it right in the edge of being able to hit his Wildhorn unit. So I go ahead and blast them and blast a handful of them off the board. And that's pretty much my whole turn, because I think I tried to drop a rock on them and missed with the catapult. So we go to Beast Herd's turn 1, and my opponent confuses me. He actually pulls back. I'm not entirely sure why. My only guess is maybe he wants to wait for his ambushing stuff to come on the board, and he doesn't want me to shoot him to death. So I'm not entirely sure how to respond to this. I do decide I don't want to just sit here and shoot at him all game. I want to get mixing up with stuff. So I've got to figure out a way to deal with this backing up stuff. The only other thing is he sends his centaurs running around behind this hill. I think his hope there is that he can run them around the hill and come in behind me. Seems like a long way for a small unit, but I'll keep an eye on him. I'm pretty sure what shooting I've got, as soon as they stick their heads out from behind that hill, what shooting I got is going to take them off the map. So I stop his magic phase. He's got no shooting in range, so I go to Dwarven Hold's turn 2. I actually decided, because I couldn't shoot anything with a flame cannon anyway, to move it up 3 inches, which puts it back in range on that big Wildhorn unit. And then I kind of move everything up. I'm regretting not having marched my Forge Wardens, because they should have been shooting last turn, or should have been shooting this turn, so I went ahead and marched them up. I also decided I was just going to put some pressure on him with the Seekers and see what I can do. I'm kind of hoping he'll charge me, because I'm pretty sure my Seekers will trash that Wildhorn unit. It'll take a while, but I'm pretty sure I've got it. The other thing I've done too is I can see the centaurs on that corner, so I could go either way if he pulls something weird. But that's pretty much it. I definitely want to match up his Gortak against my great weapon Greybeards, mainly because of the BSB in there, who can just open up, he'll have a strength 10 if I get into combat with that thing, and I'll just eat it alive. So that's kind of my hope. But I decide to go ahead and not take any chances and drop a rock on its head. I hit, I wound, and do 3 wounds. So the thing's half dead, and I'm feeling real good about that. We go to Beast Turn's turn 2, and he abandons he does not charge me, which I was surprised at, but I guess he doesn't feel like he wants to mix anything up until he gets his ambushers on the board, which I can certainly understand. So he turns around the centaurs, essentially abandoning their attempt to go around, which I'm okay with that. It's kind of a long charge. I think it's 9 or 10 inches, but I figure I can either go for that or the wild horns. I'm not sure which way I want it to go. Then he ambushes some dogs and moves them within an inch of my catapult here, and that makes me nervous. And then he does this, which also makes me nervous. The wild horns come on. The only plus side, I know he wants to kill the flame cannon, and that is the war machine I chose to entrench. So he's going to have a hard time shooting at it. I'm also kind of hoping he's not smart enough just to try and shoot my general, but I think he's going to. But we'll see where it goes. The general's got like a 3-up armor save, and he's got he's going to be hard to wound. So I guess we'll see how that works out. And worst case scenario, unless he drops that big 20-man unit back here too, I think the copter and the bomber can deal with these guys. And I guess he realizes that he needs more pressure up here, so he ambushes in the longhorns and puts them in this nice gap that he had made for himself. So yeah, this is scary. He's got a lot over there. My only real hope, because I don't know that I can handle, with the Seekers, that I can handle both of those big units. So now charging the centaurs and kind of blowing through them actually becomes far more important to me in the way I'm figuring it right now. And over here, he still doesn't come forward. I don't know if he's worried about the shooting or if he's got another plan up his sleeve, but he kind of just spreads his unit out here, or his units out here with the Gortak kind of sliding over a little bit. But if he's not going to put it into combat, I'm kind of okay with that. Then he gets some magic off. The only thing he gets is the rerolls to wounds in close combat here. I think he's afraid I am going to charge that unit. So that gives me yet another reason not to do that. And we go to Dwarven Hold's turn 3. I try the charge against the centaurs, and I roll like garbage. I go over a few inches, and now I've given him not only a great charge from the units in the front, but the positioning puts that wild horn unit into my flank, which is going to be a mess. It's just flat going to be a mess. Over here, I decide that now that he's kind of got that right or left flank locked up, he's probably going to start moving up here on the right. So I go ahead and have my Longbeards grab a section of wall so that they can defend it. Over here, sorry for the blurry picture, but my copters just turn around to get ready to do some shooting. I start off by dropping a rock on the head of the Gortak. Hit, wound, and 3 more wounds takes him off of my plate. And yeah, between the shooting from my general and one of the copters, the dog unit is vaporized. I turn around, I try to flame cannon the unit behind me and misfire and take a wound. And the bomber just shoots at him and only does 2 wounds. What I should have done here is I should have actually moved him and dropped a bomb on him. But this is the first time I played the bomber, and I actually forgot for a couple turns it was a bomber and not a copter. So that was kind of a stupid me moment. But I did a little damage, so that's a win, I guess. And then the Forge Wardens end up cracking off some shots and inflict 2 wounds on the Minotaur. Then it's Beast Herd's turn 3, and the Minotaurs go to charge my Greybeards. Greybeards stand and shoot and kill off the one Minotaur that was wounded, and then my opponent rolled like a 3 for charge distance and goes forward nothing, which is awesome because that's going to give me another stand and shoot, and I could not be happier about that. Speaking of things that I could be happier about, he gets both charges here, and yeah, this is a mess. My only hope at this point is his BSB is on the corner, so I want to try and kill him, and I want to thin down that great weapon unit as much as I can. So, my plan is to go with great weapons on the Slayers, with the hopes that I'll just be wounding on 2s and he won't have any armor to resist things, and I'll just be able to do horrible amounts of damage to his big unit before I'm almost certainly killed. This was a surprise as well. I guess he didn't want me shooting him to death, so he decided to charge his skirmishers here into my flame cannon. I'm actually kind of okay with this. Given the kind of how butch the flame cannon guys on it are, I think I got a chance just to flat out win this combat, and that's kind of what I'm hoping will happen. Otherwise, I can charge in some copters and bust them up if I don't win. And over here, he brings his drunken centaurs around to cause more trouble. And in Magic Phase, he gets the rerolls to wounds in close combat, and this was bad. He threw 4 dice at it, I threw 5 dice to try and dispel, and I rolled like balls and failed. So this is not good news for Slayers. So we go into close combat. He ends up inflicting 1 wound on the flame cannon. I inflict nothing back on him because I didn't roll very well, and I lose, but I'm stubborn and I don't go anywhere because I'm leadership 9 pretty much across the board. Then over here, bad things happen. I lose 8 Slayers. I kill, it looks like 4 of the guys on the side, the wild horns. I kill 6 of the Longhorns, and I do not succeed in doing any wounds to his BSB this turn, which is certainly bad, but I'm unbreakable, so I'm going to have a little bit more time to do it. The other nice thing is as he's killing my Slayers, he's getting less attacks, because I'm a smaller base than him, so I'm shrinking out of his reach. And less attacks here is going to help, until I can find some way to rescue them. So we go to Dwarven Hold's turn 4. First thing I do is I decide to just go ahead and bring in the bomber and the copter charging into this unit to take care of them. And then I mess up bad. I can barely see his unit, the back of the Wild Horns unit with my great weapon guys. I end up needing an 8 or something to charge. I decide to go for it, and I botch the charge and end up basically just having enough room to do the pivot and the move to where you see here. So now I've offered my flank to Minotaurs and my front to Centaurs, and that's a bad day. So we go into shooting then. The Forge Wardens pop looks like another 2 wounds on Minotaurs. And I apologize for this blurry-ass picture. But ultimately, I beat down the archers here and chase them off the table. Then we go to combat here. I lose another 6 or 7 slayers, but going with great weapons was a good idea because I'm killing everything that I throw attacks into once he kills me, including his BSB. His BSB opens up, and I murdered the BSB on the "You're Coming With Me" attacks. He had the 2 up, came down to like 5 up, so he was throwing 5 up, 6 up, and failed all 3 and died. This is good. Even if the Slayer unit gets wiped out, which is almost a certainty at this point, I'm in a good position here if I can find some other way to bring pressure on these units. So we go to Beast Turn's turn 4. He charges in to the flank with the Minotaurs and the front with the Centaurs. I go ahead and toss thrown weapons at the Centaurs and kill them down to 2. They're frenzied so they don't panic, or immune to psych so they don't panic. And I stop his magic, so we go to combat. And I get lucky. Without the support of the character and having so few attacks against only 1 rank of Slayers, he kills down to a single Slayer, which means I'm still unbreakable. I managed to only kill 2 back of the Great Weapon Longhorns in return. But at this point, this is all gravy. Then bad things happen over here. The Centaurs go down, no big worry. The Minotaurs just absolutely obliterate them some Longhorns, and I can't hurt. Like I don't get enough attacks back on to kill all the Minotaurs. I barely killed the one that only had 1 wound left on him. So he's stuck there. I lose by just a ton. But I'm stubborn, so I do not break, because I'm stubborn 9 with a reroll. And then I succeed on the reform, so I turn around, and I'm thinking, now I've got this. He's going to swing first, he's going to kill a few, but I've got enough attacks here where I should be able to put down this Minotaur. And we go to Dwarven Hold's turn 5, and I decide, since there's nothing else worthy of shooting, I charge the Forge Wardens into the flank of the Wild Horns. My hope here is that he actually kills out the 1 Slayer, which will separate his Great Weapon guys. Because I am disrupting him, I might be able to break the Wild Horns, and my overrun should take me into the front of the Great Weapon guys. In a perfect world. But that's what I'm thinking here. And since I have nothing left to shoot at, I decide to bring up my copters here to get ready for whatever it is that's about to happen when this fight goes down. Same thing over here. I basically just move my general so that he's within 3 inches of both units, or both war machines, and can provide his engineer bonus to either one. Then bad things happen here. I make way with my BSB, who proceeds to fluff and get no hits. Needing 3s to hit, he doesn't hit once, with 4 attacks. And the rest of my greatsword weapons, or greatsword guys, only bring 1 wound on the Minotaur. He kills 3 in return, but I've still got a rank, so I'm stubborn and don't go anywhere. And I actually missed a picture of this combat, so this is actually top of Beast Herd's turn 5, but I'll explain what happened. As you can see, my Forge Wardens killed a boatload, just an absolute boatload of the Wild Horns, and took nothing in return. So they were disrupted, broke, ran. I didn't catch them. I only went like 3 inches. And then on his turn, he decided to go ahead and charge his Longhorns into me. I opened fire and killed a couple more of them. Obviously, the Slayer was murdered horribly. But I'm feeling okay about this. I've got a lot of attacks to throw into 4 guys. And I'm thinking I can take them. So he does successfully rally his unit of wild horns. And then proceeds, because he rallied his wizard in with that, to get rerolls to wound in close combat with these 4 longhorns, which I'm okay with because, frankly, I'm going to go first, and if I don't have these guys dead by the time I go, any hit they're going to do is wounding me on 2 anyway, so the likelihood is anyone that survives is going to kill a Forge Warden. And then over here, god damn it, he ends up killing all but one of my all but one of my graybeards. I get a wound back on him, so I'm sitting on, like, I'm down by 3 because I got a wound and a banner to 5 wounds. So I need to roll a 6 rerollable, and I get it on the reroll, so he does not break my BSB. I've got to find some way to sneak in 1 more wound on this freaking Minotaur before he murders my BSB, and I'm kind of nervous about it. Over here in combat, I did exactly as I expected to. The Forge Wardens put a hurting on the last wild horns and killed them to a man, so I don't get any, don't get to chase them, get any closer. So that's what it is. So we go to Dwarven Holds turn 6. I decide not to charge anything else because I don't want to push my luck with Forge Wardens in combat. So instead, I open up every bit of shooting I've got on these fuckers. I end up, I run the bomb on him with the bomber. I do some shooting. I hit him with the Forge Wardens. He ends up having to take a wound from the blade he's got to not panic. So I ended up getting all but 3 of the wild horns, and his caster has a wound on him. So I get half points for the unit. And over here, he manages to get 1 wound on me with the Minotaur, but I put the Minotaur down and turn to face. So Beast Herd's turn 6. He sees the only real soft point in the army being that battle standard bearer. So I don't know why I took the picture here, like, in between his movement. He reforms and then is going to move up to the edge of the forest so he can get the dwarf, or the battle standard bearer within spell range. And that's what he does. He ends up getting a killer magic phase, like 10 dice. He throws 5 dice at something, doesn't miscast, and I dispelled it, and then he threw 4 at this spell, which did D3 strength 10 hits, but it rolled against my leadership instead of toughness, which is leader 9, and he only managed to inflict a single wound, and that is the last action of the game. Martok bowed in front of the Beast Lord Bazcog upon his return to camp. He knew that Bazcog did not tolerate failure, and he had failed to destroy the dwarves. He felt like he had been bowing for hours, awaiting for the Beast Lord to speak, but all it was doing was staring at him with cold, brown eyes.
Master, I have told you of the battle and of the failure of my magics. I have told you of the death of most of the stubby ones, but they possessed great machines which slaughtered our people by droves. My life is yours, but please speak.
Bazcog remained quiet a moment longer, then smiled at the soothsayer. Martok never saw the blade of the Beast Lord's axe strike. As the head of the evoker rolled across the glade, Bazcog howled. A response came from all over the glade and began to carry through the forest itself. It was soon joined by the sounds of horns carrying throughout the valley. Lothar approached him, smiling as he saw the body of his rival still twitching on the cold ground.
Master, the horns will call the beasts to you, something that has not been done in many moons. How will you handle Kempek and his minotaurs? He does not care for you, master. He has tried to kill you before.
Luthor, I have killed your rival for his failures. I shall kill Kempek if he challenges me. I shall kill you if I choose. Only the hunt matters now. The others will see this. Bazcock smiled as the soothsayer muttered to himself, walking away. Elf, dwarf, human, now it did not matter who they met in battle. It was time to hunt, time to feast, time to bathe in the blood of his enemies. Alright, so after we did the points, this was a victory for the Dwarven Holds, 13-7. But it was a close game and hard fought. I really enjoyed this game. It was a lot of fun. I certainly, there were a lot of kind of unexpected turns to it. But all in all, it was good. I think I might have had a little too much shooting. And I certainly don't think I used my copters to their maximum effectiveness. But I say that they were still kind of the reason that none of my stuff in the backfield died. So I'm okay with that. It came down to a couple of key things, though. The fact that the one Slayer held on for that last turn of combat was huge. If he had not held on, then his units would have turned around, and I was not about to charge 10 Forge Wardens into the front of that big Wildhorn unit, or even the smaller Longhorn unit. I don't think they would have done as well. So that one Slayer holding on just long enough for me to set up the flank charge was big deal. One thing that I pointed out to my opponent during this, I did not succeed on a single charge roll that I actually had to roll. The only charge I succeeded on was the Forge Wardens and the 2 Copters, and they were both within minimum range because I had a champion with the Forge Wardens and the Copters were within their movement. So I was rolling bad for charges. I definitely think the Dwarves can handle the no magic thing to a certain degree. I think it may have been a different story had he had a better lore than Evocation. I'm really just not impressed with Evocation on the Beastmen, or the Beast Herds, whatever. I think, obviously it's designed for use with the undead armies. I kind of feel bad for any army that has Evocation as a choice that's not undead, because I feel like it takes away from them having a better choice. But it was a very good game. We both had a lot of fun, and it was a lot closer than I expected. Again, I think if we had chosen to do a secondary objective, depending upon what it was, it's entirely possible that this could have turned into a 10-10 tie. No telling. And like I said, it was a few key things that went one way or the other that ended up turning it this way, which is a great game. I like the games where you don't really know how it's going to end until it's over, and it was one of those. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I definitely think I might play with more of the minimalist characters in the Dwarves in the future, just to bring some more toys. My wife is almost done with the Grudge Buster she is making me for my birthday, so I'm super excited to be able to get that on the board and maybe play with more of these cool helicopters and flying things. So other than that, we did get 2 games in this week, so there will be another one later in the week. Hope you guys will enjoy and come back and check that one out. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. Otherwise, we will catch you next time.